few technical difficulties getting everything together. I'm excited to bring you this talk today. So this is more about your immune system. We're going to do a quick recap of what we talked about last week. So again, if you haven't watched the talk on the immune system last week, you might go back and watch that, or the previous, let's say, chip talks. Where we went in depth about the immune system. But today we're going to recap that real quick, and then we're going to talk about some ways that you can influence your immune system. We're going to talk about that from a different angle, maybe than perhaps you've ever heard it from. So it should be fun and hopefully enlightening. I want to thank our sponsor, once again, Neighborhood Nutrition. We do have some other sponsors that are lining up for 2023. I'm pretty excited about that, but for right now, we're just kind of doing this on our own until we get it developed. And, part of that is I don't really want anybody to stifle what I have to say. I've kind of got an agenda of things that I want to talk to you guys about and stuff that I want to disclose, maybe might be the right word, but kind of get out there in the, let's say, public domain. Hopefully people will listen to this, but it doesn't really matter if you listen to it or not. The important thing is that I'm putting it out in the public domain. So anyway, but love you guys, and I'm glad that you guys, thank you so much for the people that are supporting, this channel too, because it helps a lot. It's, I send this around to a lot of different people. Hey, watch, the talk I just did on whatever. And people look at views of stuff, and I don't, in my mind, I think what I have to say is valuable. And so hopefully you do too. And hopefully that eventually, this sees the light of day, because I really feel like I'm on to some cool stuff, and hopefully I'll be able to prove that to you guys over time. And I, believe I have knowledge given to me by the man upstairs, and I want to pass that on to you guys. So today we're going to talk more about your immune system. This is a very important concept. And again, if you go back to last week's talk, your immune system, in my mind, is related directly to, your kind of ability to be spiritual. So if you're live in a polluted body and you're sick all the time, it's very hard for you to up your spiritual kind of game, if you will, or your spiritual content. It just, you're in crisis mode all the time, right? So hopefully we'll talk that through it a little bit better and give you some practical things that you can do. By the way, this, you're not going to have to buy anything, at the end of this. This is just informational. And what I'm going to give you is a lot of power. So, what you choose to do with it is up to you. But this is, if you listen to this talk, you're going to find ways to take back power over your health. And that is the most important thing that I can teach you is how do I empower you to basically understand what I understand and be able to seize back your health, because you have so much more control over your health than you think you do. We've ceded our health to this institution called pharma, and we will find over time that these institutions were not created for us. They're created as a profit model for other people. So sadly, it's truth. Okay, let's jump right. Oh, actually, we went right to the end here, so let's not do that. If you're going with me, wow, that was fast, wasn't it? So we almost jumped through the whole thing there. Hopefully you caught it all. See you later. That's all for Chip Talks today. No, we started at the end there because I had my presentation set at the end. So again, if you're listening at home, listening only, not watching the video, I'll try to walk you through this as best as possible, but always better to grab the video and kind of watch the slides. And again, we'll find more entertaining things to do with this over time, stuff going on in the background or, something, right? So, but again, I'm just going to recap what we did last week real quick. So I want to walk through some slides pretty quick, but the main job of and I'll read this to you, sorry, but the main job of the innate immune system is to fight harmful substances and germs that enter the body. For instance, through the skin or digestive system. The adaptive specific immune system makes antibodies and uses them to specifically fight certain germs that the body has previously come into contact with. Okay, so you have two systems, right? So the first system is just your skin, basically how do things get in you? Well, they can get in you, through your mouth, through your nose, through your holes, let's just say. And then you have defensive mechanisms around all of those holes. And then you have skin. And again, your skin has defensive mechanisms. And then once something kind of gets past those initial guardians of the gate, let's say, you try to kill stuff generally if you don't recognize it. And your sort of secondary response is in response to viruses, and that's where we build this natural immunity. And that's called adaptive immunity. So anyway, that's a real quick recap of your immune system. What does your immune system encompass? Well, it's it's everything in your body, because your immune system can touch everything in your body. So, if you have a cell that's dysfunctioning, your immune system can reach down and touch every cell. The way that it does that is through two transport systems, though. And again, immune mediators are these little, you can think of them as little chemicals, little molecules, little, alive guys, however you want to look at them, but they're these little mediators that have to move around your body. So they have to get everywhere in you. There's two ways that they can get everywhere in you: your transport system, which is called blood, and your waste management system, which is called lymphatic. So this is a picture of the lymphatic system, and again, we're showing that there, and my phone keeps whistling, so we're going to turn that off, and we're going to give that to Miss Cindy, who's always standing in the background. So the components of the immune system, all right, so this is great. Where do blood stem cells come from? Right. No, I don't know if you got it or not, but where they come from is from bones, okay? So all of the cells of your immune system come from one source of stem cells, and that comes from bones. And the endocannabinoid system literally cues bones to express and create more stem cells. And then as those stem cells are created, basically they are created as a blood stem cell. And you can have two different ways that those kind of go. And one is toward your lymphatic. So these get differentiated, they call them, and more is created from kind of a single stem cell. That is endocannabinoid action as well. So again, this is all endocannabinoid, how these guys are created, okay? So that's how important the endocannabinoid system is to your immune system, because you don't create any immune mediators without an endocannabinoid system. But again, you've got one side of this graph is white blood cell, is lymphatic. So, and again, you've got white blood cells down here at the bottom. But one side here of the major cleave is lymphatic, and the other side is blood, right? So one side is for transport, the other side is for waste management. And that's how you move things around in your immune system. All right, so real quick, innate immunity, again, that is your initial response. That's how you try to kill stuff, and you can see kind of the guys associated with that, the little mediators, or whatever you want to call them, immune mediators is what I call them. And then you have adaptive immunity, and that's more, your learned immunity. This is what kicks in with things like COVID, viruses, stuff that can, kind of get past that initial innate immunity and take root inside of us, okay? So that's kind of how it works once something is inside of us. All right, last thing I want to cover real quick, or this is a recap. Again, I've talked a lot about cancer, so if you want to go back and listen to some of the things that I've done about cancer, again, we know how to kill cancer. Researchers know how to kill cancer. It's not hard to do. And you can do it with behavior, you can do it with diet, you can do it with cannabinoids, you can do it with antiparasitics, you can do it in a lot of different ways, but it's all the same button that gets pushed called P53. But even before that, before you get cancer, how do you not get cancer? Well, this is the way cancer happens. So you have to have a cell that's been mutated 3, 4, 5 times before cancer can happen. This should never happen in your body. You have a system to clean this up, and it's called autophagy. You use this process to clean up mutated cells. You use this process to get rid of bacteria. Most of us never turn this process on because, again, this process has to do with a metabolic state called fasting and fed. This only comes on when we're in a fasted state, which you have to go 5 hours without eating, okay? So most of us don't go 5 hours without eating. We eat too frequently, which we'll talk about in a second. All right, so now let's get into the meat of what I really want to talk about. And I want to introduce this concept of, how many of you guys out there are Trekkies? I am. I mean, I grew up on Star Trek, and so I like the analogies, right? Because analogies make things easier. And we all understand, I think we all understand, the concept of the Starship Enterprise having a shield system, right? So if you're going to go into battle with the Klingons, you want some strong shields, and you want them babies to be up. So I want you to start thinking of your immune system as a shield, right? And you have shield strength. Now, shield strength can be measured by the status of your endocannabinoid system. Isn't that cool? But anyway, we all want to go about life with our shields up, don't we? And we want to really, have these shields at our command, and we want to understand what contributes to shield strength and what takes away shield strength, right? That's pretty important. I mean, we better know our engineering crew down there and what puts up the shields and takes down the shields before we go into life. And by the way, this is so easy to learn and teach. Every third grader should learn this stuff, and we'll talk about why in a second. Okay, so what behaviors or foods lower our shields? What's like taking about 10 photon torpedoes, to the bulk or the masthead or whatever? Well, sugar lowers your immune response. Okay, so sugar's like a giant Klingon photon torpedo. It will lower your immune response. Okay? Sugar, right? Stop eating it. Yeah, it's hard to do, isn't it? Because we're all addicted to it. So, sugar absolutely lowers your immune response. Processed foods lower your immune response. How many of the foods that you're eating right now are processed foods? I mean, how many of them are frozen? How many of them come from the frozen food aisle? Think on that. How many fast foods are you eating that are processed foods? So if you're eating foods that are high in sugar, drinks that are high in sugar, like energy drinks are high in sugar, pop is high in sugar, diet drinks are high in things that are as bad as sugar. Again, what did kind of God give us out there? We gave us water, and He gave us a whole lot of cool ways to flavor water, make teas and, food in water and all kinds of cool stuff, right? So you can get the goodies that you get from soda in other ways. And again, if you like sweet stuff like I do, I take a lot of stevia because stevia doesn't hurt my immune system. It helps my immune system, and it actually helps my insulin signaling. So stevia helps your B cells and it helps you with insulin release, whereas sugar just craters that. So there are healthy alternatives and ways. That's kind of what we do as a neighborhood nutrition, let's say, does as a business. So talk to them, which means you'll talk to us about kind of what that's about. But the other things that lower your immune system are smoking, and again, not smoking cannabis. Okay, that's different. That's a different exercise. And we may do a whole chip talks on, smoking and kind of what that means, but smoking cigarettes or, smoking cigars is kind of almost as bad, depending on what the additives are. But it's the additives in those things that really make it bad. People have, my people, natives, have smoked tobacco forever, right? And we didn't die of lung cancer back in the day, did we? No, we did not, right? So there's kind of a little bit more to the story here, but smoking cigarettes absolutely will, bring down your immune system. So again, it's like taking another photon torpedo to your shields. Well, what about eating? Well, let me tell you this. It just the info. If you go out there and look at eating frequency, and it's all about eating frequency. The information is just wrong. In the general information, right? So the Google search stuff. If you go really dig into research, again, you can find everything that I'm going to tell you, and you can, validate. I hope you do, really. I hope, I'll challenge you to go validate what I'm saying or try to prove me wrong. That's even a better challenge. So go prove Chip wrong. But, you won't be able to because, again, I wouldn't be saying it if I couldn't validate it. But if you just do the basic Google search, on how often should I eat? If I want to lose weight, how often should I eat? And you're going to find all this stuff about eating 3 times, 4 times, eat every 2 to 3 hours. And I've sort of pulled some of that stuff off of the internet. What is the best frequency to eat? The theory, nutrition experts tend to recommend eating 3 balanced meals and 1 to 3 snacks per day. What are the 3 best times to eat? 6 to 9:45 a.m., 10 a.m. for a snack time, 1 p.m. for a lunch break, 6 p.m. for dinner time. Is it healthy to eat every 2 hours? Eating every 2 to 3 hours maintains body process and metabolism intact. Sorry guys, all of that is bullshit. That is wrong information. That is information that will kill you. You want to know how? Cancer is one way, because if you follow that advice that I just said, you never do this. Autophagy. You never clean up this. All your mutated cells. Yeah. So, WTF? Why is this information even out there? Eating is the thing that lowers your shields. They go down. No shields, or very little. You still have an innate immunity. I mean, you're still going to try to fight things off when they get inside of you. But eating takes your shield strength down even more than soda, than processed foods. And again, eating these things takes them down even more. But eating drops your immune system almost down to 0. It's like flying into a massive Klingon battle that we have all around us with no juice, with no shields. You're a sitting duck. You're going to get holes blown in your bulkhead. All right, what about the environment? So does the environment affect our immune system? Well, yeah. And again, if you're a sort of an epigeneticist, then that's what I'm talking about here. So we're kind of born with a set of genes that are on and genes that are off, let's say. So you're born with a tendency. And immediately, as soon as you take your first breath, eat your first meal, as soon as you start living, those change. Okay? So if you live over a lead mine, you're going to have a completely different genetic expression than I do. Or someone who doesn't live over a lead mine. I might live over a lead mine. I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, your genetics are built to change all the time, and they change with your environment. Every time you walk in a room that you haven't experienced before, even one that you have, your genetics change. When you take a breath, your genetics change because your environment is constantly changing. And this is proved through studies with sets of twins, and that's kind of what I pointed to here. But what I want to point out is what does this mean for these genetic diseases where people are told that they're just, you're going to have this, sorry, it's genetics, you're just going to be this way forever. What I'm telling you is your environment can change your genetic status and does all the time. So what does this mean for things like autism? Why are these guys stuck in the loop that they're stuck in? It just fascinates me. I mean, I know a lot about it. I probably know more about it than anyone on earth. Challenge me, please. But why are they stuck in this loop? And they're kind of in this loop. You can get them kind of the loop, I guess, to improve and function a little bit, but getting them out of the loop is super duper hard. So anyway, but what is epigenetically, what does that mean? So what's going on? What's causing the loop is, I guess, what I'm getting at. What's the stimulation? What is the, genetic stimulation that's kind of causing that to happen? And there's something, believe me, and we'll get to it. Believe me, we will. Getting closer. Might have to do with olfactory. Yeah, put that one in your pipe and smoke it. But, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And we'll do a whole thing on the olfactory system, your sense of smell. How do we sense solids? We, eat things. How do we sense spiritual things or gaseous things? So anyway, that's a deep rabbit hole that we'll go down. We'll hop down that one later. But anyway, that that has effect, with autism, with neurodegenerative diseases, it's looking like. Muscular dystrophy is another one, so I've got some good friends with muscular dystrophy. It's and again, hopefully they're not listening, but it's a kind of a death sentence, muscular dystrophy, because it's just a declining disease that you never get better from, allegedly. And again, that's not how I'm seeing things. We can always change your genetics. We just have to understand kind of what the loop is that those people are stuck in. Sorry, I went a little deep down there. We're going to go a little long today, probably. I try to do these right about 30 minutes or so. This one's probably going to be a little bit longer than that because we got a lot to cover, but it'll be good. So what else in our environment is dragging down our immune system? Well, what do you have in your pocket? What are you watching this on right now? So we're around a lot of electromagnetic radiation all the time. And so EMF is called electromagnetic fields. And so does EMF hurt or disturb our immune system? Well, this study said, again, you can find studies good and bad on this, but I'm just pointing out that there are these things in our environment that might be affecting our immune system. So you can find good and bad about electricity moves around at 50 or 60 hertz, depending on where you are in the world. Again, does that create radiation? Does that create EMF? Yes, absolutely. Is that good for you? Jury's still out on that one. But there are certainly things that EMF and 5G, this is part of the concern with 5G. So if you want to know why Trump was so concerned about 5G and the tech that he took out of 5G, it's EMF tech that can manipulate you. With EMF, I can duplicate any enzyme expression in your body. Yeah. So again, I can hurt you or help you with an EMF pulse at the right frequencies. And again, you got to know the frequencies and you got to know how all that works, but that's pretty well-known science at this point, which is cool, but just not real well known, but it's well researched. All right, so what else hurts or helps our immune response? Well, again, you are a fatty acid machine. So everything that you eat other than fatty acids is kind of, doesn't matter really. It's feeding your bacteria probably. So carbohydrates feed our bacteria. Again, we probably need, if we have the perfect diet, we don't really need any bacteria. And I think this is where, we're headed, is kind of to this place where we don't need these commiserate bacteria anymore. But the commiserate bacteria that are super helpful to us right now are things called bifidobacteria, and they're stimulated by fibrates, so fiber, right? So carbohydrates right now in our diet are important, but the more fibrous the carbohydrate is, the better, and the less sugar-ish it is, the better. So the more we trend toward fats, though, the better off that we're going to be, because our mitochondria are designed to run on fats, and our whole system, all our immune system really is built to kind of take these major fats that are big precursors and build all this other stuff with it, right? So if we're not eating the right kinds of fats, we can't build some stuff, and that's not good. Right now, we are in the worst possible situation as to sort of our diet and environment. And again, this goes to our immune health, because if I just feed you, so saturated fats are inflammatory and omega-6 fats are inflammatory, okay? Omega-3 and omega-6s are the gotta-have fats. So they're essential fatty acids, and you can see these little red stars by alpha-linolenic acid and linoleic acid, and they are the gotta-have. So we can't make these any other way. You've got to have these fats. But on omega-3 and omega-6, you have to balance them, because one is inflammatory and the other is anti-inflammatory. If they're not balanced, you tip the scales, okay? You tip the scales. Same thing with saturated versus unsaturated fat. Saturated fat is inflammatory. Unsaturated fat is anti-inflammatory. So again, if you eat too much of one, you're tipping the scales. So what we do right now is we eat way too much saturated fat. That's everywhere in our diet. And we ate way too much omega-6 fat, and that's everywhere in our diet. So our scales are as tipped as they could possibly be in favor of inflammation, okay? So what that means is your first immune response is going to be inflammatory because that's where you have the juice. You're not equally balanced, so you won't be able to get rid of that inflammation because you don't have the juice to do it. You know, we've got 8 times going this way and 2 times going this way. That's a problem, a big problem. So we need to eat these fats in balance, but right now we don't. It's very hard to find omega-3 fatty acids in our diet, okay? So if you're just out there eating without any knowledge, without any education, you're going to eat a lot of saturated fat and you're going to eat a lot of omega-6 fats because they're in corn syrup, you know, and you're going to eat a lot of sugars. And again, we've just said, how do you wreck your immune system? How do you go shields down, eat frequently, eat the wrong kinds of fats, and eat a lot of sugar? And you're going to take a lot of damage from the Klingons. Let's just put it that way. Now, here's the thing. I'm sorry to just be blunt about this, but I'm a truth teller. I mean, when I look out there, I'm like, are they trying to kill us? I mean, seriously, are they trying to kill us? And I think you have to begin to answer that question, yes. Why do we have all this information out here? Literally, this is so wrong. And this is, you know, pretty good sources of information about the eating frequency. It's killing you. Eating too frequently is killing you. And literally, we have our United States Department of Agriculture telling us that we should eat frequently. Are they trying to kill us? Or are they just trying to make us sick? They're just trying to make us weak. Good slaves. You know, no immune system. Slaves to the pharma system. I don't know, but we ain't getting the truth. That's all I gotta say. So the nice thing about it, and I'm sorry to, you know, again, if you're not a Christian or whatever, you know, listen to this because you could replace God with higher power or, you know, whatever your belief system is. But in my belief system, it's God, and God has created a system for our health. It's right in front of us, but we're blinded by all this chaos and confusion. It's called the God healthcare system. And it's also called nature. And it's also called your behavior. So all it takes for you to be healthy is knowledge. It's just an understanding of this system that God created, how you work, and basically how you make yourself better or make yourself worse. Everything in our freaking society is pointing us toward worse. Why? You know, why? Hopefully that rings in your ears like it does mine, and we gotta change this. And again, it only will change when we stand up and try to change it, because these people aren't gonna change it on their own. They're making too much money off of our misery. Sorry, get passionate about that. Okay, so how do we raise our shields? How do we fight these people? You can do it on your own. God gave you a system. Isn't that cool? How do we raise our shields? Well, the first thing is we have to get control of our eating behavior. Now you might think, I can't live without my cinnamon rolls, like me. And I don't like living without my cinnamon rolls. But what I mean by getting control of my eating behavior is the frequency with which I eat. This has nothing to do with how much you eat. Nothing. Eat all the calories you want. I mean, we'll talk more about what you should eat, and that you certainly should be conscious of what you're eating and not eat sugar like I'm saying. I'm just kidding, because I have a hard time with this too, because we all do. We're addicted, to sugar. That's kind of what these people potentially have done to us, not to go conspiratorial. But our eating behavior right now is horrible, right? So we eat at breakfast, and that sets this clock back where we're shields down, and we're shields down for 5 hours. Tick, about the time that we're getting ready to go shields up. Scotty, do we have shields yet? Almost, Captain. Almost. We eat again. We take on another salvo for the Klingons. Scotty, where are we at? Back to 0, Captain. Dinner. Boom. Snack right before bed. Boom. Eating behavior. Okay? So, what do you need to do? Well, eat in a window. Well, first of all, look at this. Several studies of dawn to sunset fasting showed anti-inflammatory effect. So if you can just fast from the time you get up till the time the sun goes down, and then eat when the sun goes down, and Cindy and I almost do this. We don't quite get to sunset, we'll get close, but look at what happens. You suppress these pro-inflammatory, because we're eating all of this fat that's pro-inflammatory, cytokines that come from this pro-inflammatory fat, so you begin to suppress those. You reduce oxidative stress, so the things that happen in muscular dystrophy, the things that happen in autism, in a lot of these neurodegenerative diseases have to do with oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what kind of causes the bad stuff, okay? You don't want oxidative stress in your body. It's when your body is right here getting ready to flip into this better state and you've got all this sugar and stuff circulating, right? So again, we want to get past that. And once we get past that, then we start using oxygen properly. We're beta oxidizing, everything gets efficient, everything gets cool, but we've got to not eat for 5 hours. And the last thing is, when we start doing this, we remodel our gut biome. So again, we begin improving the status of that bacteria, and things like metabolic syndrome go away. Yeah. So I talk to a lot of people with diabetes all the time. You can fix your diabetes. In fact, we can track it with thermal imaging, which is really cool. We can show you how you're progressing just by changing your behavior. So that's something that Neighborhood Nutrition does, so come see us. Okay, but anyway, this is just fasting. And again, you can start doing this by the way, here's what a lot of people think. I've talked to a lot of people, they go, oh, I already do this. I eat lunch, and then I eat dinner, and that's it. So that's intermittent fasting. Well, what do you do in the morning? Well, I get up and drink a cup of coffee. Okay, what do you put in your coffee? Well, cream and sugar. Yeah, you ate breakfast. What do you do at 10 o'clock? Well, I drink that energy drink, and then I have my Mountain Dew. You just ate a meal. So all that is eating. Anything over 50 calories, 50 calories is eating, and you will throw your body into shields down. Okay, so what should we eat? Well, again, we right back to kind of what are we? We're this big fat machine, and where are we disbalanced right now? Where the scale's tipped? Well, we're eating plenty of saturated fat. We don't have to worry about that. And we're eating plenty of omega-6 fatty acids. We don't need to worry about that. What we do need to eat more of is omega-3 fatty acids, because those are essential, and we need to balance our omega-3 and our omega-6 intake. Okay? So, and omega-3s are essential. Boy, find them. And really shouldn't is not a good word, but when we eat omega-3s from fish, we're denying our body a very important step. And let me go back to this slide and I'll kind of show you this. So when we look at omega-3 fatty acids, you see there's a red dot here. This is essential, meaning we've got to have this omega-3 fatty acid called alpha linolenic acid. Okay, so we've got to have that. Now, this isn't generally what we get from fish, okay? From fish, we get these two breakdowns, okay? And these aren't essential because our bodies will break them down. They're called EPA and DHA. So they're good omega-3s, but it's better to go to the source. And your body, it's important for your body epigenetically, okay, because your genetics, to break down alpha linolic acid. That's really an important step because you're telling your body, it's like programming your body to do certain things, and you can do that with omega-3 fatty acids. Now look at this. Omega-3 fatty acids impact macrophage function. These are the guys that go out and gobble up these mutated cells, these cancer cells, by producing cytokines, which are key components in the communication between immune cells. So without omega-3s, your immune cells can't talk to each other. Omega-3s also aid in the production of chemokines, which attract immune cells to the infected area. So if you have infection, again, the omega-3s help with healing of infection. Macrophages also ingest the foreign materials, a process that is aided by omega-3s. So again, this is gobbling up those cancer cells. You can't do it unless you're in a fasted state. You got to be shields up. You got to have not eaten for 5 hours. But omega-3s will help you do that. All of the boosted macrophage activity with omega-3 fatty acids is due to changes in gene regulation, epigenetics. In the immune system, the main changes are due to the DHA components of omega-3s. So in the immune, it's DHA. EPA is used for other things. By the way, males and females, when you have the highest form of omega-3, alpha-linolenic acid, you cleave that. We cleave that different. And we cleave that in the same percentage as is indicated in autism, as far as male and female. And guess what? That cleave, delta-6 desaturase, is associated with autism. Isn't that interesting? Okay, what to eat? All right, so again, when we're looking at omega-3 fatty acids, this slide has a picture on the left with basically what it's showing is these gaps in the endothelial junction, which mean that your gut barrier is permeable to all kinds of ooze and goo and funk and bacteria, which can then move around in your lymphatic or blood system, which you do not want to have happen. So how do you close up those junctions in our gut? Omega-3 fatty acids, baby. It's because they're anti-inflammatory. All right, so what else to eat? So the other side of this, and again, if we go back to the fats that we're not eating, kind of what balances saturated fat? Well, it's monounsaturated fatty acids, and oleic acid is the biggest. The only? There might be two of them. But oleic acid is a monounsaturated fatty acid. Oleic acid is found in olive oil, and it's part of the reason why the Mediterranean diet has led to such longevity is all of these anti-inflammatories that come about because of olive oil. But again, in conclusion, oleic acid could be reported as an anti-inflammatory fatty acid playing a role in the activation of different pathways of immune competent cells. So again, this is important, and it's important to balance what we eat. So again, just to recap, we eat a lot of saturated, we eat a lot of omega-6. What we need to up in our diet, omega-3, number one. Number two is monounsaturated or oleic acid. Where do you find oleic acid? Nuts. Cashews, pecans, almonds, really good source of oleic acid. So the best way, though, to boost our immune system is just to understand this fat, this whole fat system that we work under, and give ourselves the balanced fats. That's the best thing that we can do. So the first thing that kind of we build with these fats, and again, we store them all. That's what you store on triglycerides. That's what we store as fat. The first thing that we do with it, though, is we build an immune system, okay? And we do this with the endocannabinoid system, which is really cool. So the endocannabinoids, when people say, oh, the endocannabinoid system regulates the immune response, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's regulating the management of these precursors and their breakdown into immune mediators. I mean, it is the computer. It is the management system. It is the thing that's doing the work. It is the thing that understands what needs to go where and how. So it's a super duper important system, all right? And again, it's important to measure this system because how do you know how much horsepower you have in your endocannabinoid system? So, and we're working on that. That's something that, we're working on right now. Let's just say that. The other thing that the endocannabinoid system, so what does the endocannabinoid system do? Well, it controls expression of these through stem cells, through bone stem cells that become blood stem cells that then become all of these immune mediators. All that's controlled by the endocannabinoid system. It also controls the calcium status, endocannabinoid system, in your cells. And calcium status is what allows cells to sort of take things in or not. The permeability of the cell membrane, let's say, is controlled by calcium status. So you've got complete control of not only the mediators and the production of the mediators, but also the status of the cells and how things get in and out of cells through the endocannabinoid system. Yeah, we don't even study it yet. Sad. You could go find bench studies on it, but thank goodness there's one major university that's at least got a master's level class in it and another major university that's getting ready to spin that up that, I'm helping with. So, but, we'll get there. We need PhD programs in this. That needs to be next. But foods that impact the endocannabinoid system. So guess what? They're the same fats. Again, all of these fatty acids are going to help the immune system and in particular help the endocannabinoid system. But look at this. So hemp seeds and hemp oil. So actually what is in, this is just, masticated cannabis, right? So it's without, it's not stuff you smoke. It's not psychoactive. But hemp seeds and hemp oil, and again, why? They have the right balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and they also have the right balance of monounsaturated and saturated fat. In hemp seeds, flax seeds, same way. They're a little omega-6 heavy, so again, if you're eating in the environment and then you come back and eat flax, it's going to help you some, but again, you're just adding more omega-6 to the equation. Chia seeds are great sources of omega-3, and that is what I suggest because the main fat in them is omega-3. They've got some other fats in them, but they're just a good offset because you kind of get everything else out there in the environment other than monounsaturated. Walnuts, super duper good, a lot of omega-3. They're one of the only nuts that has a lot of omega-3 in it. It's why they're so good for the heart. It's why they have such good benefits. Sardines and anchovies have DHA and EPA, so again, you're better off going to a chia seed because that has alpha-linolenic acid. Eggs, I wouldn't get your omega-3 from eggs. Again, that's like trying to get your omega-3 from beef. Animals saturate fat. That's what we do. So we take, fats from plants and we saturate it. So it's better to get your fats from plants than animals. It just is. So. Okay, well that's kind of it, guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one. We'll continue to bring these about. I'm not sure what we're going to do next week. I've got kind of weather on my mind, so we'll do one about weather. We'll keep doing stuff on the immune system. Again, if you have suggestions, fire away. I mean, I'm happy to kind of dive down any rabbit trail you want me to. I'm working on a lot of Rife stuff right now, so I've really been all over Royal Rife's work, and I think I've figured out a better way to do some things there. There's still some science that needs to be done, and then there's a lot of prototyping and experimentation past that. But there's some really good stuff there, and that's very promising. And I'm actually corresponding with a weighty scientist there to try to do some things. But anyway, I'm excited about that. So if you have something you want to hear, fire away. If not, I will determine what we do, and I will do that anyway. But we will see you guys next week here on Chip Talks. Talk to you.